Yo, what is up? Welcome to Ninja Geek Games. I enjoy adventure games. There's nothing better than equipping an enchanted sword, donning a fine pair of unicorn leather gloves, and travelling the land filled with magic and wonder where bards sing tales of my mighty deeds. But I also enjoy the darker side of questing, where evil entities stir in the shadows and around every corner sits danger. But where can we possibly find a game that encompasses these depictions with a deep narrative? Cue All or Nothing Productions and the phrase "hold my beer" as they brazenly present Shadows of Kilforth. This is a 1 to 4 player co-op or competitive game where you take on the role of a hero and progress through a rich story encountering enemies, allies and quests, gathering loot and rewards. During this time, gloom spreads throughout the land where you must also defeat a powerful entity known as an ancient before darkness engulfs everything it touches. Now, whereas most adventure games come with a big board and fixed map layout, the Kilforth series, as we'll see later, use a number of cards laid out in a grid, each representing a different location, whether it be an ancient ruins, formidable stronghold or perilous cave. You need to move to these various locations and complete encounters, which are dice-based tests using your hero's attribute values, and discover rumours. These rumours lead your hero to other areas on the world map to locate rewards and assets that can in turn be used to progress through your story before attempting to take on the ancient. But even before we begin the game, we get to create our own brave hero and provide them with a saga that will become legend. At setup, you and the other players get to select the hero's race and class. What I like here is that these are not your standard stereotypical human hunters or elf rogues. No, they're much more specialised. Now each race and class is represented by a card that combine to form your hero. So we could have a vampire samurai, a veil-born choir monk, or even a were-tiger ninja, although there are a large number of combinations that you can choose. These cards sit side by side in your play area and provide the sum of your hero stats, and from top to bottom they are fight, study, sneak and influence. As well as showing the hero's health and gold value, you'll have a number of special abilities that you can use throughout the adventure, as well as some keywords. The race cards are actually double-sided, so you can choose a male or a female form, but other than that, each side is identical. Depending on the class you've chosen, you'll have access to specific skill cards that are revealed at each time you level up, and these will be different for each game. There are 4 reward decks in the game that come as titles, spells, allies and items, and at the start of the game you take 2 of these cards from one deck and choose one of them to become a rumour. A rumour is a card in your hand, not in your play area, and thematically you've been given knowledge of its whereabouts in the world, and you'll need to visit the location indicated on the card for it to become an asset in your play area. Next, you'll choose one of the many sagas that your hero must progress through in order to reveal the ancient. So this saga is the Imposter King. They come with 3 cards, making up 4 chapters, and each of the cards has a narrative, what you need to do to complete it, as well as the keywords that you need to provide. The last card is an encounter, and if defeated, it becomes a trophy into your play area. I really enjoy this part of the game as you can choose both class and race randomly, which can be surprising, or make a careful selection based on your preference. I like the fact that this phase creates quite unique and obscure heroes, resulting in a multitude of combinations for attribute sets, special abilities and skills. This is then bolstered by the reward card chosen and the particular saga pinned to your hero for the game, so immediately you have a high level of variation based solely on your character creation. As mentioned, the world map consists of a number of cards, and these are laid out in a 5x5 grid. The centre location is always the shrine, but the rest are laid out randomly for every game, so you have a different map layout for each play. Your hero is represented by this really cool looking standee, and on your turn you spend these tokens to carry out actions, these black hearts. That reminds me, I must call my mother-in-law. In solo play, you'll take your actions one after the other, but in multiplayer, the whole group takes turns taking one action at a time. During the game, you'll be moving around the map, generally one location card at a time. Some locations have some form of effect, such as reducing the number of actions that you can take in a round, whereas others provide shortcuts allowing you to move great distances with just one action. Therefore, you should be able to cover the whole of the map within a few turns. Encounter cards are drawn when you move to a new location, although you can search for them by spending an action. And these are drawn from a deck matching the terrain type of the location that your hero is at. These encounters will sit over the location card and can be quests, places, strangers, and of course enemies. Barring enemies, these encounters will remain at a location until fulfilled by any player. To claim them, you need to spend an action and carry out a skill test based on one of the attributes shown on the encounter. Skill tests are pretty straightforward. You add your attribute value matching that of the encounter, and these come from your hero's race and class card, as well as any assets you own such as spells and weapons. You then roll a number of dice equal to this value in an attempt to gain a number of successes to match the encounter value, where a success is a 5 or a 6 rolled on the die. For enemies, you usually don't get the choice to engage, it's mandatory. Skill tests are the same for other encounters, but here you must use the fight value. For these encounters, both you and the enemy roll dice, taking damage if either of you rolled a success, and this will continue until one of you are defeated or you evade the attack. Now, it's not as simple as it sounds. Firstly, the quests, strangers and place encounters can be attempted over multiple turns in the same round. You just record how many successes you've earned over a number of turns. However, in a multiplayer game, another hero can beat you to the punch and steal your sought after encounter, the very one you've been working hard to complete. Grrr. For enemy engagements, there is also the element of surprise, and this is an initiative-like mechanic. The enemy will normally benefit from this, gaining 1 additional dice for the first round of combat, which can be detrimental to the battle. But this can be negated if your hero took the action to become hidden in any turn before the combat occurs. Not only do you now get that extra die, if the revealed enemy looks like it's going to rinse you like a wet flannel, you can instead attempt to evade it and sneak away into the night, so you can literally pick your battles. Now, it's often said that you control your destiny, but not your fate. Wrong. In Shadows of Kilforth, each hero starts the game with a number of fate tokens that can be spent in order to add successes to a skill test. These are rare and exceptionally valuable, where they must be used only when necessary, such as when you've angered a stranger. In most circumstances, you can interact with a stranger by succeeding at a skill test for influence. But either by choice, because it's in your nature to be a pain in the ass, or because you're as bad at rolling dice as I am, a skill test with no successes turns a stranger into an enemy. You now have to engage it in combat to overcome the encounter and claim the card. Here, a token of specific colour for your hero is used to mark a once welcoming stranger, now turned enemy against you alone. So, we're defeating enemies, influencing strangers, and attempting quests over multiple turns. There must be some benefits. Yes, the rewards, loot, and swag. When you defeat an encounter, regardless of its type, you have a choice to gain a number of gold pieces or take a random loot token from the bag. But why the choice? Well, gold is one of the requirements to complete the chapters of your saga, but the loot bag can sometimes provide more gold, cha-ching, or a potion, a mighty stallion, or some other powerful ability crucial to your cause. You also have 2 options based on the encounter as well. You can either take the encounter into your hand as a rumour, or discard it for a reward, which can either be an item, ally, title, or a spell. Again, these rewards need to go into your hand, where your hero will need to make the way to the location specified on the card, carry out a discover action to turn this rumour into an asset that I can now use. You can also visit the market to spend your hard-earned cash on more equipment and relics, or sell those that are of little benefit to you for coin. But why are coin, rumours and assets of such great importance in this game? Well, assets in play add value to your character's attribute, giving you a better chance of success at skill tests and combat. They also have a once-around ability called a Veil Effect, but some can also be sacrificed for a very powerful one-time ability. Most importantly, coin and cards are vital for completing chapters in your saga that allow you to progress through the game. Most chapter cards within a saga require you to present gold and a number of cards with specific keywords as an action called a regale, which is to complete the current chapter of your saga. Any rumour card in hand can be discarded if it has a keyword matching that of the chapter card. For your assets, however, you have 2 options. Either evidence that the card in play has a matching keyword and keep it, or discard it and gain gold equal to the value indicated. In most circumstances, you need to provide keywords from a number of cards, either from rumours or assets. As mentioned, rumours are discarded, but assets can be kept or discarded for gold, which will now put you in good stead for the next chapter, as each requires 5 gold pieces, which is a hefty price. As you progress through the game, the keywords become a little more specific, meaning you have to be a bit more savvy with revealing encounters or trading for items. But the rules do come with a key that highlights where you are likely to find cards with the particular keyword you're after, although sometimes you do need a bit of luck. When you've completed a chapter in a saga, you get to move to the next chapter, which provides some wonderful narrative. Also, you get to choose one of 2 skill cards from the next level that provide ongoing abilities like healing or gaining gold, for example. Leveling up also provides you with extra health for the remainder of the game, which is sorely needed if you plan on staying alive. Unless you're the vampire, and in that case, unalive? The game comes with a very clever mechanic where both health and actions go hand in hand. Every time you take an action, you spend one of your 4 action tokens. But for every health you lose, whether in battle or from game effects, you lose an action point. Therefore, going into the next round, you can start your turn with less than 4 actions, which is infuriating, as you'll either need to use your limited actions to rest and heal, or hope you have some card combos to provide health, although you can't help feel that you've wasted a turn. At the end of a round, you're not safe. Night falls and danger lurks around every corner where you draw and reveal night cards that can reveal some adverse events. These can be bad weather, the placement of obstacles at encounters that must be overcome with action points, and they can even put enemies into play. Not only that, each night card is associated with a location that goes into gloom, and this is represented by turning the card face down. Locations in gloom make it more difficult to move around the map, as most cause damage to heroes if they end a round at that location. If your hero already has a reduced number of action points, then you sometimes may have no choice but to take cover on a gloom location. But what next? Well, now the saga is complete, the Ancient One that you selected makes an appearance. Perhaps it now deems you as a worthy foe. Here you need to visit a particular location and defeat it in combat in just 1 round, so you need to be armed to the teeth with spells and allies, as well as be at full health, or you're in for a tough fight. There are a number of ancients in the game, and these are selected at setup and all provide a slightly different experience thanks to specific abilities. These come with a small deck of plot cards that are placed on the map locations thanks to night cards and need to be removed as an action during your turn, or they make the Ancient One even more formidable. So, is Shadows of Kilforth a fantasy adventure game worthy of legend? I think so. The game is rich in theme with a great narrative throughout and some nice mechanics. You have some tough decisions to make, such as visiting a location to discover a rumour as an asset, or taking on an encounter knowing it has the keyword that you need for your saga. Even deciding between gold and loot can be tricky, as some loot provide more gold than the card, and there is also a deadly trap mixed in the tokens. Sneaky. I really like the aspect of turning your rumour cards into a useful weapon or spell. In most adventure games you just get to equip items immediately, but in Shadows of Kilforth you really have to earn it. But make no mistake, the game is challenging, brutal at times. One minute you're skipping along to a lush green forest, and the next you're set upon by a monster that tears you to shreds, takes your gold, kills an ally, and at night you're left in gloom. The game moves along quite quickly, where gloom spreads far and wide, so you really don't have time to hang around before the game ends. You need to have a plan and sometimes take daring risks, because all too often you'll find you have too much to do with very little time, as you can easily predict the end of the game, if you make it that far. The levelling up system is quite creative, as I do like character development in my adventure games. Completing a saga allows you to gain health, perhaps some gold to spend at the market, and gain a skill card specific to your hero's trait. The game also comes with a number of variants, so you can play cooperatively, competitively, change the location entering gloom from the night card, and even alter the game length. Even though the game is difficult, it's extremely rewarding whether you succeed or are defeated, and tells a fantastic story of your hero's deeds. For new players, I recommend some of my house variants just to get used to the mechanics and understand how quickly the land can fall into gloom. Here at setup, I start with my chosen reward as an asset, so I begin well equipped. 1 or 2 more gold, because I'm greedy, and play the game where skill test successes are scored with a value of 4+ on the die. This is also a great way to play a blitz variant with or without the ancient plot cards. Regardless, if you enjoy adventure games with an RPG element and some fantastic components, then this should definitely sit on your shelf. This is Ninja Geek Games. Cheers.